snow.
Good evening. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us.
Praise allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry about that.
Apparently, the blizzard has a few of us off a little bit here.
Sorry about that.
Roll call, please.
Kolpak.
Here.
Pepcorn.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Strand.
Here.
Mahoney.
Here. Public Works. On February 16th, Paul Fichtner, our Public Works Services Manager, participated in a live interview on National Fox Weather Channel to talk about Mount Fargo, how much it has grown and how long it'll take to melt. It was a great national exposure to how much our Public Works team serves our community through these tough winters. All of the video shown during this broadcast was shot by Communications and Government Affairs team and was turned over on request to the Fox Weather within an hour. Here's Paul's interview.
Here, the North Fargo snow dump, known as Mount Fargo, well, it continues to grow. According to the city of Fargo, as of Friday, Public Works crews have hauled 8,000 truckloads of snow to this site that's located in the industrial park. Mount Fargo is expected to grow to over 100 feet tall and might not fully melt until July or August. Wow, that reminds me of this random year in Boston that we went through something very similar, but look at that. And proudly flying the American flag. I love it, Fargo. Way to go. Well, Paul Fletchner, Fargo Public Works Service Manager, joins us live now on Fox Weather First. Paul, good to see you. The mountain is behind you. I have to say this is pretty impressive. I grew up in snow country, so I'm impressed by that mound of snow. But, I mean, I would imagine this is kind of interesting when it comes to when it melts. Tell us exactly what is behind you, because it's more than just snow.
Yeah, definitely. This is the snow that we've been hauling here this winter. What we do is any of the snow in our downtown area or along the primary roadways, we haul that out to make room for the next snowstorm and bring it out to the snow dump here. So this is the snow that's right off the road. With that, in the snow, there's dirt and debris and sand and stuff that's with it. What we find is when it starts melting here in the spring and the summer, that a lot of that dirt will come to the surface and kind of be the crust on the pile. So the pile itself will actually turn dark or black in color.
So, you know, obviously this is an annual event for you guys. How does the mountain compare to years past? I mean, we're talking about the potential of maybe 100 feet. Would this be a record book year for Mount Fargo?
Right now we're around 65 feet. In years past, we've been up to 100 feet when we've had more snow and more snow to pile on, put on the pile, obviously. I don't know if we'll get there. Mother Nature will determine that. It depends if we get more winter weather events.
And I have to mention, Paul, you know, it's 0 degrees in Fargo right now. I know you guys are hardy folks in Fargo, but how does it feel this morning?
It actually feels pretty good. The wind has died down, and that makes a difference for us. The sun's coming over the horizon, so we're on track for a beautiful day in Fargo, North Dakota.
I just love the perspective because, you know, whether you live up north or you live down south, winter means very different things. Well, very impressive. I do want to ask you, Paul, before we let you go, have you ever found something interesting within Mount Fargo? Obviously, there's some dirt in there, but children's bikes, a couch, I don't know. Have you ever found anything weird?
Not that I'm aware of, nothing of that size. But there's definitely surprises in it. A lot of the snow itself is run through a snowblower and then into the truck and then piled out here. So it has to make its way through that snowblower first.
Well, maybe that could be a future children's book, what you can find in Mount Fargo. Let your imagination run wild, since it sounds like you kind of got to dream it up. Paul, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And thank you for sharing your enjoyable morning at 0 degrees in Fargo with us.
He made 0 degrees look comfortable. Library assistant technology equipment is available in the in-library use for all 3 library locations. This equipment consists of a high contrast large print keyboard and a rollerball mouse. The kindergarten success. The monthly storytime session is March 4th on the main library. This program is for kids ages 3 to 5 years old and their caregivers, and is focused on preparing kids for the start of kindergarten. The annual Northern Narratives 2023 writing project continues through March 31st. The writing project is for adults and teens and is accepting submissions of poetry, fiction, and nonfiction writing. Other, on February 14th, the Fargo Police Department observed the 7th anniversary of Fargo Officer Jason Mosier's tragic passing in the line of duty. As part of the ceremony, the new Fargo PD Heroes Memorial, designed to continue to honor the Fargo Police Department's fallen officers, Jason Mosier and Frederick Alderman, was unveiled following the memorial ceremony at the Fargo PD headquarters lobby. Here is behind-the-scenes video of how the memorial was created and the review of the memorial ceremony. That was nicely done. Item C, approve the order of agenda. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda withdrawing item 16 from the consent agenda and adding a position of support for the anti-LGB and transgender bills under legislative updates?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the February 6, 2023 regular meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve, and then I would like to make one comment.
Pardon me?
I move to approve, and then I'd like to make a comment.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Is there a second
Second.
comment?
So I think there was some confusion at our last meeting in regards to a couple of motions at the end of the meeting. And it just brings up the importance of us being real clear about the motions that we're making up here, and would encourage you as chair and the rest of us on the commission to just slow things down and make sure that the motion is being stated. Because I think, at least on my part, I misunderstood the intent of one of the motions. And in fact, we ended up with two motions that really contradicted each other. So just the importance of slowing things down, making sure, especially if we don't have a motion that's written out, to make sure that it's clearly stated, so we all know what we're voting on.
Well, I did bring the question at that time, just so I was sure on the motion, but I do understand there was confusion on two motions. Concur. This is to motion to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? John, did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
No.
Oh, okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 34, excluding item 16, which has been withdrawn?
So moved.
Moved. And is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr.
Strand,
Yes.
Holpeck,
Aye.
Preston,
Aye.
Pipcorn,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Regular agenda, resident comments. Victoria Johnson.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Victoria. Thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to share two concerns. One is actually one concern, and the second one I'd like to talk about the DEI. The first concern is we have a board that's a Human Rights Commission. In my personal opinion, I feel this board do not have like the credential or the experience to be a human rights commission. And simply is because there were some issues that was brought in front of them, and the way they handle it, in my personal opinion, was completely inappropriate. One of them was regarding the letter and some of the issue and what their comments were. In my personal opinion, is it gave an advice to a community member who took up on themselves to move forward and writing a letter, not having everything or the evidence. As a person who filed a complaint with the federal, I understand when you file a complaint, you have to make sure you have all the information, all of it, not just what you see on the TV. You have to have all the proof. So in my personal opinion, I just felt that commission and that title given to that commission, it's inappropriate because they're dealing with the human rights issue. And I expect commissioner like that dealing with human rights issues should have attorneys, people who have the legal expertise to be able to handle stuff like this that's happening in our community. Just in my opinion, again, it was not appropriate. Some of the comments, there are more than just one issue that happened in that commission. My second is DEI. We have DEI has been here for over a year. Over the year, we have seen board members, we have seen some departments, leaders who come up here and talk about their works, what they have done within their department, and giving updates to these commissioners and to the community. We have not seen DEI doing the same thing. So I'm asking this commission to put it in their next agenda or the following agenda, that the DEI come up here and give us an update of what he is doing and what are some of the changes he's creating within our Fargo and has been working towards, and what are his short-term and long-term goals. I understand he did environmental scan. What is the next step? What is his working plan? And so I think it will just be transparent for him to come up here and talk to us as a community. Thank you.
Patrick Kelly.
Good evening. Good to see you guys. City of Fargo. My name is Patrick Kelly. A couple topics I wanted to speak on tonight. Kind of go through them here. Content neutrality in regards to content being played on Broadway after 10 p.m. Significant government interest to disallow free speech. Just a quick demonstration of content allowed and not allowed. I guess I could get to the lyrics too, but where is the quick question I just wanted to state publicly, I guess, just for everyone. I was just curious as far as where the RFP is for the to hire the consultant, I guess, for the noise down on Broadway and the street performances. Nothing's changed. I was out there last Saturday night. The music's blaring. It's a party. So the content neutrality is the problem. You guys had the communications department shoot some video, and they edited it, which, you know, that's what they do. But they just showed you guys certain portions. They didn't show you other portions. Outside of a bar called No Bull, just right on Broadway there, there's 2 or 3 officers standing there, and So that's the content that's being allowed. It's a song that I'm sure some of you hear. Most of you probably wouldn't want your school-age children to hear it. It's being played out on Broadway. That's the content. My content, the content of street performers, get ready for this. Hold on to your chairs. Do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. That's the content you're not allowing. And you're having the cops shut it down, $1,000 fine. Did you guys know they were giving it? That's the fine. The judge is hitting the gavel on $1,000. You got to fix it.
Item 34, public hearing. Dwayne's Pizza Edition. Approval recommended by Planning Commission on 1/3/23. It's zoning change from a single dwelling residential to a commercial, limited commercial plan unit development overlay. First reading of rezoning ordinance, plat of Dwayne's Pizza Edition, and a plan unit development master land use plan. Megan to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioners. This item is Dwayne's Pizza Edition, otherwise sometimes referred to as the Block Project, BLOCK. This is an application for a minor subdivision, a zoning change, which would rezone properties from SR2, SR3, and LC. SR2 and SR3 are single-family zoning districts, and LC limited commercial to LC limited commercial with a PUD overlay, as well as a PUD master land use plan. Excuse me. The property is located at the 1600 block of University Drive South on the west side. So up on the aerial image here, you can see 16th Avenue South on the north, 17th Avenue South on the west, between University Drive and 13th and a half Street. Up on your screen are images. These two show facing from University into the site, into the project site here on the front. On the east side, these show just the sidewalk along University Drive, and these images show from 13th and a half Street, looking at the residences that are currently there today. Up on your screen is the zoning, where you can see the SR2 and SR3 zoning districts and LC on the east side. This application is to redevelop essentially this entire block, to demolish the entire block, and to put up a 5-story mixed-use project, which would have 127 residential units, have 15,250 square feet of commercial space, with parking spaces that are underground as well as on the west side of the building in the interior. This plan, you can see here, what it does would pull back. Right now, the parking spaces for this property are into the right-of-way. Pedestrian conditions are pretty tough. With redevelopment, it would pull that back and provide some more space and provide some additional connectivity onto the site. Here's just a little close-up oriented north is to the right. A little bit of background information. This was first introduced to the Planning Commission on December 6th. After that Planning Commission meeting, there was a neighborhood open house meeting over at the Sky Commons in the Civic Center. And then the Planning Commission heard this as a public hearing item on January 3rd, where they did recommend approval with conditions. As a final note, there's 3 things that go along with the plan unit development. There's the master plan, which is the overall building layout, which was just up on your screen. There's the ordinance that writes those standards in that development into a zoning district. And then there's the final plan, which will ultimately go back into the city, back to the Planning Commission. Also up on your screen are primary comments that our department heard or received by email, either that were heard at the neighborhood open house or at the Planning Commission meeting. Here are some images provided by the developer of what this project would look like. So both of these are looking from University into the site, where you can see the retail component and the retail facing University Drive. And this is from 13th and a half Street, looking at the west side of the project. Also in your packet, you should have an ordinance prepared. What this does is these are kind of high-level categories of how this project is written into the ordinance, and some big topics here. And if there's any questions on the details of those, I'd be happy to answer those. This is just an elevation that shows the context of the neighborhood, the structure, And on the west side, you can see the residences, and on the right side is where University Drive is. This application also includes a plat which would replat the lots that you can see here of Morton and Doty's addition into one lot and one block subdivision entitled Dwayne's Pizza Addition. Staff's recommendation, Planning Commission recommendation, staff's recommendation is up on your screen. You'll note there's two contingencies here based on having to do with the plat that I've coordinated with the city engineer with on. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. This concludes staff's presentation.
Any questions?
Chairman?
Mr. Preston?
Megan, can you go back to the graphic where the monument sign is? So as I understand, it can go up to 20 feet. Is that to scale there? So it gives a sense of how tall that
Yep.
would be?
This,
Okay.
this is a scale drawing, yep, that would show, and so the ordinance does limit the on-premise signage. Off-premise signage would be prohibited here through the ordinance, but it does limit the on-premise signage to one sign with a maximum of 20 feet.
And that shows 20 feet comparably.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Pipkin?
So, and maybe this is for Brenda Derrig too, if you don't mind. If you could show the overhead view of the parking lot. The question is, in the past, we had some issues with the right-of-way being too close to University Drive. Will this address some of those issues? And then the other question I have is, right now, there's a driveway that's right at the stoplight on 17th Avenue. Would this be moving that? Because to me, that's kind of a traffic congestion area and maybe a potential accident site. So can you talk a little bit about that?
So yes, this is pulling all of the parking lot off of the right of way, because currently, you're correct, it encroaches into our right of way. Plus, it's giving us a parking buffer. So it is moving that back, which gives us a very nice area to have a wider sidewalk along this corridor. And then we are, as part of the site, we're also removing, right now, there's a mid-block access off of University Drive, and that is being removed. So the only access will be off the two avenues.
So you have been involved, and you would say this is going to improve some of those traffic issues and also the right-of-way issues that we've had in the past?
Yes.
Okay.
Megan, can you put the parking lot on when it's done? Thank you.
So can you show me, is University Drive, where is it on this picture? It's on the right side?
Yeah, so it's right over here.
And so that entranceway at the bottom of the picture, that's where, is that 17th Avenue there?
Yes.
And so has that been moved back a little bit? Or
It's, if I remember, I'm going off of memory, it has been moved back a little bit more than what you see today. And same with these. I think they've just shifted back as much as we can get them back.
Okay, no, that's great. And if anybody's been there, that is a traffic congestion area, and just there's a stoplight, a right-hand turn lane, there's a lot of things going on there. And so I just as long as you're comfortable with it, I'm good. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak to this zoning change? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Strand?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm reminded when we look at this project of the Newman Center project up on North University, and I remember Commissioner Pepcorn admonishing us to not allow an entire wall to be the whole edge of the street. And yet that's what we ended up with. Even though it was going to be 6 stories, we ended up down at, I think, 5 stories. But I'm looking at this and I'm going, it's a great project. It's a block that needs improvement. But for $4.5 million, couldn't we get a little more architecture? Or can't we incent it more so that we get more architecture? You know, or more design that steps us up rather than just big block buildings. And I'm not sure that's what they'll look like, but I'm hoping we can use our incentives to spur enhancements as well as just demolition and new building. In my mind, this could be improved architecturally, but I'll wait to see.
Any other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Preston,
Aye.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Strand, Mahoney.
Yes. Item 34B, hearing to consider renewal plan and developer agreement for tax increment finance district 2023-01. Jim Gilmore to explain.
We're back on the same block. You just approved the zoning, and so this will be consideration of a tax increment financing district renewal plan and developer agreement. Megan did a nice job going through the project, so I hope you have a good understanding of that. When we look at this block in terms of is it qualifying for as a renewal plan, we do see deteriorated properties, and so it certainly meets that definition of kind of underdevelopment and blighted. The other thing I should point out is that when you look at this core neighborhood plan, the fourth down purple block, that's what this block is. This plan was adopted by the city, I believe, a couple of years ago. And this particular block was identified as one that was appropriate for redevelopment. I don't think I have the cursor here. The block right here. And so, it does fit with, that's why the Planning Commission recommended the rezoning, why you took your action you did, and why this is appropriate for the redevelopment. The plan is useful for that purpose. The developer is requesting $4.5 million in assistance to make the project feasible. We estimate that the additional new property taxes will be around $400,000 a year. It'll depend on what the city assessor puts it at in the mill levy, and that would take a full 15 years to pay off this level of assistance. The way the agreement is set up, though, is that you may notice in the financial report that it could be that if these projections come in a little less than I think that's fairly optimistic. It may come in at 3.5 million. And so after 15 years, the TIF note would end. And so whether they're fully repaid or not, the development or the assistance ends at 15 years. Should we be able to pay them off sooner, as has happened in a couple of cases, then the development assistance may end in, say, 14 years if the mill levy were to go up and the value of the property were to increase more than projected. The Economic Development Incentive Committee is recommending approval of this. We've sent this to our city financial advisor for review, and they determined that, based on the level of assistance and the financial projections, that this project would simply not occur without the development assistance. And so what the financial people look at is first they look at the internal rate of return, then they look at the coverage ratio. And so, the internal rate of return on a project like this, real estate project, investors are looking at trying to get 10 to 15%. They'd like to get more, but when it's below 10%, it's really difficult to draw investors to a project. And so you can see without the TIF, that rate of return comes in below that 10%. And so this is justified, and it doesn't get above 15 either. And so it's sort of in that level where the investors will likely invest in it. The second thing they look at is the debt coverage ratio with and without TIF. Most bankers are looking for coverage ratio of maybe 1.2, which means that they estimate that you're going to have 120% of what you need to make your monthly payment. Without the TIF, you can see in the first 3 years, if a bank looks at this and says, well, they're going to make enough money to pay me back 95% of what they owe me, they're not likely to make the loan. And so that anytime that loan coverage ratio is down near 1 or certainly below 1, it's going to be very difficult to get a bank to lend on the project. And you've seen this rendering in the previous item. Again, the recommendation of the Economic Development Incentive Committee is to adopt a resolution adopting the renewal plan, so that creates a TIF district. And secondly, approve the development agreement with Block Partners, LLC, to provide the TIF funds for the project And I do note that should be probably subject to final legal review, just in case we see anything. And as the lawyers look at the final agreement, sometimes the developer will raise a question. We may need to adjust some words, but it certainly does not adjust the level of assistance. The level of that 4.55 million, 50,000 of that is paid back to the city for administrative costs. And then there's up to 5% or 12,000 a year that's paid to the city for the ongoing administration of this project. Be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioner Pipcorn?
I have a couple questions. First of all, how much is the property taxes on that block now? Do you have that, Jim?
It's about $38,000 a year is what it's paid this year.
So it's about 38,000 now, and then once this is, what I'm trying to do to keep this as simple as possible. So right now it's $38,000 a year. So what happens is that will be frozen. That's what they continue paying if we approve this for 15 years. Is that how it works?
Yeah, so they'll sort of have two parts of their tax bill. The 38,000 will continue to be paid. And what that will be is right now the block has a value of 2.8 million. And so it'll continue to have a value of 2.8 million for tax purposes. And the mill levy might go up and down, but the schools, the county, everyone, the city will continue to receive their share of that amount. The additional, say, 400,000, that'll come to the city and we'll repay the developer until it's done. But then after 15 years, that 400,000, probably half of it goes to the school district, and about, I think, 20% or about 20% goes to the city.
Right. So, but what I'm trying to get across is it's to make it as simple as possible. They continue paying the same property tax rate for now. After the 15 years, then it's about 400,000 that they'll pay. Is that correct?
Probably 438. So
around 400,000, and so then it will take 15 years to pay back the money that the city is going to defer. But after that, forever, they pay the higher property tax. And so a lot of people try to say, well, this increases my property taxes by you giving these, deferring this money. But actually, the opposite is true. It actually reduces our property taxes. You and I know over 50% of the property taxes are paid by businesses. And so that is actually helping to reduce our property taxes. So I try to keep it as simple as possible, but it's actually a great deal, and it's no risk to the taxpayers because the property is there. And so there's literally no risk. So that's it, Mr. Chair. I apologize for taking time, but I try to keep it as simple as possible, but it's a very good return, and it's basically improving a property that we all know needs some improvement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Preston?
Jim, it seems like I remember seeing someplace that the county was looking at this proposal. Was that this afternoon?
it was. They tabled it for 2 weeks. They wanted to see what you did first. That's been their practice.
All right.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak to this project? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak? We'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Strand, you had something to say?
I have a couple of questions, if I might. Jim, when we're doing new projects like this and we're going into new eras with discussions with new technologies, for example, I remember in the past, one's older, one's newer, we've had some issues with apartment buildings that just aren't able to accommodate recycling for all their apartments. Like you have 127 apartments. First question, are we accommodating recycling in this plan?
There's no specific requirement on that. However, Jesse Craig, the developer, is here. Maybe he can address that.
Mr. Chair, can I jump in real quick while he's coming up?
Sure.
I have a question too for Jesse. Obviously, we had some neighborhood meetings, and could you say, just comment about that, if you made some changes in what you did to, there were obviously some of the neighbors were concerned about some of the issues, so I'm sorry to
Start
jump
with
in.
recycling first, then go to neighbors.
That's fine. The recycling, yes, we do have interior recycling bins and garbage facilities for the tenants and the commercial tenants also.
And while I'm at it, then I'm done. How about electric vehicle charging?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because that's coming everywhere now.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure out how to work with developers to incent it or what it takes or how to do it, but we really need to.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'll be honest with you, that's something that we've kind of hit on a little bit, but I don't have a definite answer for you. But I'll give a commitment to you that we will look into that and see if there's some way that we can do it. I mean, we have more than enough room in the parking, and it's not that far off interstate, so I don't see why we couldn't accomplish that.
Okay, thank you.
Just comment on the electrical vehicles. We've planned for that for some of our parking garages downtown, and probably the key thing is that you have enough room in your electrical room to handle the additional electricity to make go in. There's really no advantage to run conduit until you're ready to have some vehicles that are ready to plug in.
But now's the time to do it when you're building
To have the room in the electrical room,
Versus
the
retro-
conduit can be run anytime.
versus retrofitting later.
Yeah.
Just, Jim, we've met with electric companies and they say put the conduit in while you're building. It's much cheaper than to come back and retrofit.
Sure.
Question on neighborhood meetings.
Neighborhood meeting, I think we were the first ones that they did a 1/4 mile notification rather than the 300 feet. So we had, I think, a lot more people that came from the neighborhood, which was good because of the location of the project. It seemed like, and Brenda Derrick was there and Megan and stuff, but it seemed like a lot of the questions weren't about the project as much as it was about the traffic on South University and the safety of that. And the safety of people coming from our project across University to get to Lindenwood Park and things of that nature. There were some items that were brought up in regards to how it would affect other people's taxes. We had some neighbors that were right across the project on 13th and a half Street that we was able to talk to and things. But I think one of the things, how I feel that we accomplished answering those questions and their concerns was when it came to planning, we really didn't have many people at the planning commission. So I think we did our job. I think there's always going to be some people that aren't completely happy with everything, but I think it's kind of similar to Oak Grove or the Newman Center. The proof's in the finality. What's it look like when it's done, and is there still that heartburn with the neighborhood? From our standpoint, it's easy for us to sit back and say we think this is going to be a catalyst. It's going to spur other development. It's going to help the neighborhood. But I hope that the neighborhood associations or the neighbors are happy with the finished product.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Question.
Is Brenda? Brenda, you're back there. So I was at the neighborhood meeting as well, and a question came up in regards to the walkability and the safety concerns with University Drive, and certainly have been in contact with the businesses along that strip that are interested in the redesign of University. I understand that a few years back, it was pushed off because I think the design was to widen, and the neighborhood just said no. Can you give us some idea of, is the redesign of that section of University on the table at all?
Well, it's very interesting that you bring that up, because next meeting, I think we'll be back with, we're getting ready to submit federal projects that have to be on federal highways through the city. And one of those areas is University. And the biggest hurdle we had for the original corridor study is we had 2 blocks that are encroaching in our right-of-way, and a project cannot go forward as long as those encroachments are there. And so it was this block and the block to the north. And so with the redevelopment of this block, we feel now is the time to reevaluate that section and start getting ready to do a project there. That pavement is extremely old and ready for rehabilitation.
Very good. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion? And Jesse, I hope you show Commissioner Strand that it's going to look nice. I think he was concerned about that. Your renderings look pretty nice, but are you going to make something that looks good for us?
Well, I was a little taken aback because, of course, we always want it nicer. But we got this tug of war all the time where it seems like we gotta, the building needs to be as efficient as possible. We need to have as much parking as we need. We have to have setbacks on everything. So yes, I think we can definitely do some different materials and some bump outs and things like that. I think looking at this picture doesn't do it justice rather than looking at it from the different angles and stuff. We do have a lot of texture that we added to it and things like that. Planning was not hard on us with that, but they too wanted to have that, beautification and make it really stand out. So I think you should be really pleased with the final product.
Mayor, if I might, thank you for that. And one of my benchmarks is there's a city in Indiana where some philanthropist has benefacted the community millions and millions of dollars. So when there are new developments, they can step up the architecture. And the whole city, I guess, reflects this.
Oh, yeah.
So, and we have an architecture program here in town. I just think every opportunity we can
Yeah.
to step up architectural result
Yeah.
is worth it.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, we were doing stuff with even like, and as simple as it is, but like screening for the patios and things like that, and putting a bison out front that we're going to have painted, and just little touches like that. But, even above and beyond just the building features. So,
Maybe Arts and Culture can come up with something to put on the property too, Jen?
They would.
Okay. Roll call vote, please. Thanks, Jess.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Steve Sprague to the file. Application to transfer an ABH alcoholic beverage license from Fargo Suites, doing business Fargo Suites, to the Fargo Sunrise Hotel, Country Inn and Suites, to be located at 3316 13th Avenue South.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As the mayor stated, this is a transfer application of the ABH license. It's Fargo Suites, and it's going to remain Fargo Suites, just as new owners. We've done the background check on this one, and there were no issues with the three applicants. Does
Yeah.
come to you with a recommendation of approval.
So, any President wish to speak to this transfer of license? Anyone wishing to speak? If not, I close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. D, application for Class H alcoholic beverage license for CEC Entertainment, doing Chuck E. Cheese, to be located at 1202 Nodak Drive.
And this is for the Chuck E. Cheese. It's, again, the business got sold. It's an entertainment facility for younger people. They do have a beer license there. The H is service at the table or booth. No bar is allowed, and that food sales must exceed alcohol sales. And we've gone through the background check. It does come to you with a recommendation of approval.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this transfer? Anyone present wishing to speak? If not, I'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Colpack?
Aye.
Preston?
Aye.
Strand?
Yes.
Mahoney?
Aye. Item 35, update on the 32nd Avenue South Reconstruction Project, Phase 2. Jeremy Gordon to explain.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Good to see you tonight. Here to talk about 32nd Avenue Reconstruction Phase 2. It's an exciting project that we're working on currently in engineering, and we're looking to get it under construction next year. So this graphic here is actually part of the 3D fly-through. This is what it would look like on the west end, looking east, closer to University. So this is the project location map. Many of you are all, I'm sorry, Mayor, Commissioners, you guys are all familiar with the red area highlighted up there. That's the project that's going to be under construction, hopefully by the first week in April. So 25th Street points west. The project I'm talking about here is green from 22nd Street to University Drive. And then there's going to be a city portion with a lift station nearest the river, but we can get into that. So I'll just get into the project itself, and you can ask questions whenever you'd like. So the current deficiencies out there, the pavement is in really poor shape. We like to have concrete pavement last at least 30 to 35 years, and we're right in that time frame, and it's starting to show its age. The storm sewer system is woefully inadequate for the conditions. We need to run a secondary trunk line to the river out there. The sidewalks, bike trails are in decent shape, but the ADA ramps are the ones that are in fair to poor condition. The water main and the sewer are aging and need some rehab/replacement. And then we've all been out there, that last block near University. It's awkward roadway and an awkward sidewalk design. I like to call it a DOT special. I probably shouldn't say that in public, but it was a design from the early 90s. But we're trying to correct to current design standards. So our plan: replace the pavement to concrete, improve the replace the sidewalk where it's faulting, and improve the shared use path as well. And then a cool aspect of this is we're going to actually widen the sidewalk on the north side from the Milwaukee Trail over to University on the north side. So that'll be nice. We're going to replace the traffic signals and streetlights. Like I said, we're going to add a new trunk storm sewer main, 6 foot in diameter, about my size, throughout the whole stretch. We're gonna rehab the sanitary main, and we're gonna replace the water main and hydrants. So we did promise you we would come and visit with you about this stretch of the project a couple years back when we had the environmental document on the project as a whole. So we had Apex Engineering update the memo. The projected traffic volumes on the west end near 18th Street, about 15,000 cars a day. Closer to University, it's right around that 12,000 cars a day. So we looked at possibly shrinking the roadway to a 3-lane road or leaving it as a 5-lane road as it is today. So if you would shrink the road to a 3-lane road, you'd be getting near the volume to capacity ratios where you may be over capacity at times at the intersections. So like the queuing would spill back. So we're near 90% of capacity at 18th Street, and then when you're all single file, the queues get to be upwards of 400 feet at peak hour. So as opposed to the 5-lane section, we'd be running right around 50% of capacity, volume to capacity. And the average queues running east and west are right around 200 feet or less. So when we design a road, there's a lot more to just the cars as well. So this is a section line road connecting I-29 and to Essentia Health. It is on the transit road. I think it's Route 14 with a number of stops along the corridor. Stormwater ponding, we don't really think about this when we talk about roads for the most part. But when you're designing and dealing with storm sewer system, all the rainfall has to go into a pipe. We do allow for ponding in the outside lane, or at least half of that outside lane. You allow the water to get to 1.5 to 2 inches deep just for storage. And then winter operations benefit from having multiple lanes when blowing and drifting and banks get pretty large. So taking all these things into consideration, we are recommending staying with the 5-lane roadway that we approved 2 years ago. So the notable design changes from what we have out there today, we're going to shrink the driving lanes by a foot. So with 5 lanes, you'll shrink the footprint by 5 feet. The benefits of this are getting more green boulevard space, allowing the sidewalk to get wider, reduce the crossing distance for pedestrians that are going to go across the avenue. It does calm traffic, and it does reduce costs. So we're also going to shrink the center medians. So the median today is 19 feet wide. We're going to bring that down to 12 feet, so we further shrink the roadway. And then the increased boulevard, we're gonna shrink the road footprint by 10 feet. We'll increase the boulevard by 5 feet, and then some of the sidewalks are going to get wider. So that green boulevard gets a nice green buffer between moving vehicles and the sidewalk. It allows the boulevard trees to grow with proper drainage and dirt. The wider sidewalks allow people to pass side by side. And then Ben will be happy, but I don't think he's here tonight. Increased snow storage. And lastly, we'll have improved street lighting to the LED standards. So this is just a quick cross section. You could say this is near the Milwaukee Trail underpass. So the road's going to shrink. The median's going to get to be about 4 feet in this area. And you can see the boulevards are pretty wide. In this stretch, we got 13 feet on the one side and 24 on the other. And then as you get closer to Hornbachers, you can see the median's kind of hit and miss. In this area, there's going to be 5 lanes, no median in the stretch. But you can see the shared use paths are both 8 feet, and we got boulevards right around 10 to 11 feet. And I should say the trees on the South Boulevard, the only ones that we're going to disturb are the ones that we have to deal with hydrants. The north side, they'll remain too. They're a lot shorter because they're a fruit variety that's underneath existing power lines. So I'll show you a couple plan view here, and then we'll get into a 3D animation. So this is the project on the west end. Orange would be the sidewalk or path. Green would be the median or the boulevard, and then you can see the pavement underneath there. I will say from 22nd Street to 15th Street, there's not a lot of room for change. We're kind of shoehorned in here. It's 100 feet of right of way, but I think this design is pretty nice for the area. It's a lot of residential in here. You can see, I'll go back up. You can see we added medians where we could. They will be landscaped to the forestry department's liking. And here you can see the Milwaukee Trail. So on the Milwaukee Trail here on the north side, it's an existing sidewalk. Going to the east, since the road's shrinking, we have ability to get that path wider. So the north side and south side of both have paths. And then the last block here, from 15th Street to University, they've got that frontage road on the north side. So, there's quite a few things going on here. So as you're driving east, we have that mandatory lane shift. If you're in the left lane, you're forced to shift the lane over as you hit the traffic signal at University. We're going to get rid of that. It's going to be a lot more intuitive. If you want to go north on University, you just stay where you're at, and you can get there at the signal. Another notable change would be we're shrinking the westbound lanes just to one lane. And the reason why is this is a funnel that heads west. So you got either a northbound or a southbound person making a left-hand turn. Very few people coming from the riverside. So we're going to give that road space up to the path to get from 15th to University. Currently, that orange path on the north there. Currently, you're forced to cross the frontage road and walk along those businesses, and then come back over, cross it again to get to University.
Jeremy, if I might, that lane you're talking about, are we gonna get a pushback like we did on the other end? Or we were getting rid of a right turn lane and the public says, no, I don't care, we want it there. Are we gonna hear the same thing?
No, you may hear it, but we're not removing capacity, because if you think about it, this is the start of the road. And people only are getting in their single file. So we shouldn't see issues on this end. I hear what you're saying, though.
I have a question.
Commissioner.
Mayor, thank you. Jeremy, so
Go
can
back.
it's a little counter to narrow a street and then have it be traffic calming. Can you speak to that a little bit more? Because I still get questions from constituents on that.
So if you think about it, when you're going down an open county highway, not a train site, you can go as fast as you really want to. But when you pop trees in there, and when you get buildings next to you and parked cars and hedges, your vision from the county road is like this. When you're on a tighter, compact street, your vision is just a lot less, and things jump out at you, and you feel less comfortable. So by shrinking the lanes from 12 feet to 11 feet, are we traffic calming it a ton? Not necessarily. But, cumulatively, it helps. Anything helps.
To Commissioner Strand, question. You have a right-hand turn there now, and you're taking that away?
No. So that would be southbound. We're going to clean up the southbound. So there's 3 lanes on University that go southbound.
Yeah.
You can go 3 lanes through. We're going to clean that confusion up, so only 2 can go south, and the third one is forced to go right.
Okay.
But to Commissioner Strand's point, this is where the traffic builds. So if there was going to be any congestion, it would be at the 15th Street signal. But we're adding that second lane at that signal, so there'd be 2 lanes to queue in. So it's I don't know how to explain it, but you slowly just enter a funnel, and it'll flow pretty nicely as soon as it widens out to 2 lanes at 15th. So hearing the discussion, it's good to hear you guys talk about South University and Jesse Craig's block. I was intimately involved in that study 12, 13 years ago, and I remember almost every detail from it. everything is context sensitive. So on the north side here, in a couple slides from now, we're even going to be talking about options to remove the frontage road and put in some kind of backage road. So this boulevard would have a lot more green space, and the dimensions for boulevard widths would all be what we would build today if it was brand new. So I'll keep going unless you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Preston, I'm sorry.
excuse me. Couple of questions. One is in regards to, it's been indicated that this project is a complete streets project, but I'm not seeing a whole lot for bicyclists. There's no bicycle lane or anything like that.
The one thing we're learning, so we've been putting bike lanes down for 12, 13 years, is bicyclists do not want to be on arterial roads.
Okay.
Collector roads are really the sweet spot where bicyclists want to be, either on a path or on some of the on-street markings.
So the reason I'm asking the question is the Milwaukee Trail. Obviously, it would be a feeder for bicyclists. Do they go on the sidewalk here? Is the sidewalk wide enough to be able to do that, or?
Yeah, so here's the Milwaukee Trail on the left side. So we're widening the north side, so they'll have 2 8-foot paths from here all the way to the river. So just in general, if you can think about our bike system, our city and our bike network, we've got a pretty good on-street system downtown and kind of points north and south of here by a mile or two. But as soon as you get, near 94 and south and then to the southwest, folks really want to use the avenues to get to the University Drive path or system that goes north and south. You can leave town on the path on South University, leaving town, and when you're going through town by the country club, you're on the streets, but they're lower speed, lower volume streets, and they really want to get to the Lindenwood Park area and hit the river right there.
Okay. So my other question, I apologize. You had indicated in one of your slides that going down to the narrower lane, it saves cost. Do you have any sense of what that cost savings is? And my second question is, so 5-lane versus 3-lane, there must be a cost advantage there as well.
Yeah, there certainly is. You're going to force me to do mathematics in front of the city commission. Concrete, we pay with concrete by the square yard, and I think the going rate now is about $100 per square yard. I can't do the math. Brenda may if she's sitting back
That's fine.
taking it all in.
It's a bit of a rhetoric question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I'll continue on here. So the last portion of this is, so here's the University Drive intersection. If you just focus there for a second, north and south, we got left-hand turns. They're offset from each other. DOT hates that. So we're going to fix the medians north and south as a left turner. You'll be able to see as far as the eye can see to make that left turn safely. And then as you go from University to the river, we are replacing that lift station. So we're kind of going to clean this area up. At the end of this is a city park, or Fargo Park, District Park. And then there is a single-family residence down here. There's a warming house for the ice rink there. And our lift station there is really low, and it's pretty dated, so it's going to be completely replaced. So if you look at the gray thing, the white gray thing on the very far right, that'd be the new location to the lift station. And the one property that is here, their driveway would be reconfigured to come into the cul-de-sac in a different manner. So this last 2 blocks is kind of still in flux. We want to shrink the road as you go from 11th Street to University, because there is some on-street parking there from the Catholic Health Building. Hopefully this works. So this is like a drone right above University, looking west. So this would be the future design. And I think we have some opportunity to enhance those medians, make them a little longer, and I think there's a spot for 1 or 2 more of them. So like I said, optional item with our frontage road, we had the consultant look at 4 options, but there's really only 2 that make some sense. So you can see the frontage road in this picture would be potentially removed, and the engineering/dental building in the middle, they would get a new driveway from 15th Street, and then the dental office on the far right, we would turn that frontage road into a cul-de-sac. So that's just one option. The second option would be actually putting a backage street in there to provide access to those businesses. And you can see the green boulevard where the frontage road was. Everything spatially would make sense if we could somehow manage this to happen. So the construction cost estimate, everything else is going up these days, so is construction inflation. So 27 to 30 million in construction, that's without our fees. And the fundings for this, Mayor and Commissioners, MetroCog at the policy board just increased the federal funding for this. I think you added right around 5 million or so, maybe a hair more. So there's going to be about half of this will be federal highway funds and city utility funds, sales tax, prairie dog, special assessments. We're throwing everything at this because this is an expensive project. So next steps, we're going to continue design. We're at about 30% design now. We're going to have a public information next month, and we're going to meet with some of the affected property owners, certainly that last block from 15th to University. We'd like to have design done by August, bid it in November, and be under construction next year. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Strand?
Thank you. This is very much a rhetorical question too, Jeremy, but last week, Bruce Grubb and I had a meeting where somebody was talking sustainability, resiliency things with us. And what I saw in part of our discussion was they were referring at points to Amsterdam and the Netherlands and how they build infrastructure for bicycles and pedestrians. And it doesn't look like anything like we do. You know, their intersections especially are so different, you know, and I know we're acknowledging that there isn't much bike traffic on 32nd Avenue. But I'm wondering how they would design this road in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands if they knew they were going to build it right from the start and incorporate bicycles into their infrastructure, into their street flows, into their traffic lights. Sometime I'd like to see that exercise. What would they do differently than us?
The one to answer that, I mean, there's a lot of design ideas out there, but roundabouts make a world of difference.
They do a lot of roundabouts.
Because if you think about our system, there's nodes and there's links. If you make the nodes correct to be able to move traffic as efficiently as they can, the links can be smaller. In this situation, there's not nearly enough right of way, so it'd be all kinds of acquisitions. But you can see, you know, across the nation, you can see in the growth areas, there's a lot of roundabouts getting constructed across America. Like you talk about a city in Indiana. I mean, Carmel, Indiana, that's all they build is roundabouts. They've got over 100 of them. That's just one thing where the design, you know, we've done them on Veterans. We've done them on 25th Street.
Second.
They're very popular. You know, so like I mentioned earlier, we've been talking bike lanes. I've been a big advocate for bike lanes, but we're just not seeing the riders when the land use density is to a certain lower point.
Bear with me though, will we ever see the bikers if this is what we construct?
Man, I tell you, when we had the NDSU bike share, you know, we had bike share numbers through the roof. Everybody was envious of Fargo, North Dakota, and the bike share went away. And now there are not a lot of bikers out there. I mean, as a whole, you really have to look for them. I'm a huge advocate, but just the sheer numbers are not very high, and that's unfortunate.
So you need no action on this?
No, this is just a design update, just to answer any questions you may have, because we're going to be moving forward with our design, 50%, 75% plans, and you're going to see this. We're going to create this project probably right around Labor Day.
Yeah, this really changes your pedestrian way, and also your sides on the boulevards looks much different than we presently have. So this at least makes it look like it'd be walkable and could get a bike on it too. So Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Strand, a recommendation to expand the Sustainability and Resilient Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. You all have the memo in front of you. You're aware this is coming. A long story short, we'd like to add 2 appointments that are made by us to the Sustainability Committee. One would be for transit, and one would be for a youth commission member, and they've already decided that. And then we'd like to open it up and invite the public again to participate and create up to 2 seats for public at large members at the committee.
Questions of Commissioner Strand? Is there a motion?
I'll make the recommended motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Further discussion?
John,
Commissioner
Mr.
Kolpak.
Chair, sorry. Commissioner Strand, my understanding is that there has been a lot of interest in serving on this commission.
Actually, there is, and now I'll back up a little bit. I think we spent the first year kind of gauging where we're at and what we've done in Fargo and getting our arms around where we are moment present. But there's an immense amount of interest surfacing, and I would say the most interest is in electric vehicles unfolding, the whole infrastructure discussions there. So we have a lot of interest in being there.
Another quick follow-up. And so we met together with the youth initiative, and there's great interest there, so I certainly support adding that demographic to this commission. And the last hesitation, my only hesitation is through the governance work we're doing, we talked about studying all the boards and commissions, but we're not there yet. So I'm certainly going to support this.
And you wouldn't be surprised, but when we looked around electric vehicles in North Dakota, John, I think we're less than 1% or 1.2%. So we haven't adapted quickly to electric vehicles.
I think I heard 330 or so vehicles in the state, but we'll get there. It's coming whether we like it or not.
Well, the other thing, we saw a lot of the car companies are going to adapt to all electric vehicles by 26, 27, which seems like just a short distance away. Yes. A roll call vote, please.
Strand,
Yes.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Pepcorn,
Aye.
Preston,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 37, applications for property tax exemption for improvements made to building. We continue to see a lot of people take advantage of this. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Preston,
Aye.
Strand,
Yes.
Kolpak,
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Legislative update. Mike Rellinger to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'll be brief this evening. I just have a couple of timely updates from the legislative session. I want to start first on House Bill 1273, and I provided this update to the commissioners previously. This relates to the prohibition of the approval voting or ranked choice voting despite home rule authority and city ordinance, and we provided written testimony on that matter in the House Political Subdivisions Committee. You'll recall that there was an amendment made to that bill to grandfather the Fargo ordinance effectively. That was removed on the full House floor, and so that bill crossed over. That is now in the Senate. It's been received by the Senate. It has not been scheduled for a hearing as of yet. I did go back and I just took a look at the previous House testimony, and there were a total of 14 pieces of written testimony at the time. 10 were in opposition to House Bill 1273, including the city of Fargo, and then 4 were in support of that bill. The Senate Judiciary Committee is where this bill will be heard, and if you look at that committee, that's a really small committee, but we do have one Fargo member on that committee in the Senate. So we'll watch that. We'll certainly prepare revised testimony when that gets scheduled, and then circulate that for signature by the commission as we did with House Bill 1273 on the House side. Also wanted to provide just an update today. This is kind of breaking news on Senate Bill 2020. This is the really large water infrastructure bill. That bill had a good due pass recommendation leaving committee, and today, just this afternoon on the Senate floor, there was a 46-1 vote in support of Senate Bill 2020. Very significant from the standpoint of the Red River Valley Water Supply Project. That will commit $175 million for that project, and so that's significant, but probably most importantly, long-term, we were also modifying the legislative intent language for the out years, the out bienniums, when we still need to come back to the legislature for funding support on the water supply project. So embedded within that bill is legislative intent for $939.1 million for the water supply project. And that's at a 75% cost share funding. So it memorializes the cost share, memorializes the support of the state of North Dakota for water supply to eastern North Dakota long-term, well beyond this legislative session.
I think we have to thank Senator Sorbach for the help on this bill, because intent with the diversion was always hard to get. That intent is always a difficult language to get. And this is really helps us out, and to go through the Senate with that kind of margin is fantastic. So we'll put a shout out to him whenever you see him, but that's just tremendous work to get that to happen, because that was presented. We want 255, but 175 is a good start as well. And that really is a commitment. And Commissioner Pepcorn, you remember one of the diversion, if we got 50 million, we were happy. And now we're talking in numbers well over 100 million, which is hard for the legislative state to do sometimes. So this is a major win for our community. Hopefully the House will see it the same way.
Yes, thank you, Bear. That's well said. And then I just had two other updates this evening. The first is related to our event that we're having with Cass County in West Fargo. That will be next Tuesday on the 28th. That is from noon to 2 p.m. here in this space. And then at 11 o'clock in the morning, right before the start of that event, we're going to have just an open house for any legislators that want to stop by earlier and visit. Great opportunity for our local elected officials with the county board and the two city commissions to get together and greet legislators. So that informal interaction is going to be out in the atrium starting at 11 o'clock, and all are invited. We'll make sure that we notice that as a public meeting. And so far, we are seeing some interest in attendees who are indicating that they'll be here. It's also a very busy travel period for individuals in the legislature, either to return back to businesses that they might run or hit the road. And I know I've gotten several emails today. We have some people traveling. They're in warmer climates here next week, so they won't be able to join us. But we'll be sure to share anything that comes out of that session with all of our members from Fargo, West Fargo, and in the greater Cass County area. And then finally, I created just a few prints of materials as lay-down items for follow-up commission discussion. One is the item of new business that was added, the HRC statement that was prepared by the HRC, and then also some library bills. There are several bills that are circulating regarding public libraries. I just shared copies of what the library board and the staff there have prepared. That's just for background. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. So I'll leave my report at that. Happy to answer any questions about the event next week or other legislative matters that the commission might have. Thank you.
Questions of Mike Redlinger?
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman?
Strand? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, all right.
So Mike, can you give us a brief synopsis of the book banning ones?
Yes.
They're concerning. Very
Actually,
concerning.
no, I'm happy to do that. So there are a total of 4 sheets of paper that I gave you. And so there's 3 separate bills. And so let's start first on House Bill 1205. And that is about materials and just the disposition of materials that libraries can maintain. There is 2123. That also has potentially difficult language that would be difficult for staff. So let me just talk about 2123 briefly. It actually would potentially criminalize library staff who might keep content on the shelves that may not be, meeting the favor of the censors. So that one would be real problematic in terms of managing it from a library perspective, as well as that kind of duty that we have, in the public library system to maintain, as much open and available information as possible. And then finally, 2360 was another bill that also kind of related to First Amendment duties and responsibilities. And this was one where I believe the library board, if I recall correctly, and I'm just rereading their piece, that yes, this was the piece where they wanted to, again, try to prevent the censorship of materials, so that whether you were at the Carlson Library or the downtown library or in Grand Forest, wherever it might be, that those would be decisions made by local library boards and not legislated by state government. So I believe that's kind of a high-level summary of the matters, and happy to follow up with the library director too on any specific follow-ups you have tonight.
Thank you, Michael. If I could. So the one that's they're all three very concerning, but the criminalization one really concerns me. And I'm thinking we should be making some statements about that since these are City of Fargo employees. And since it's passed the Senate, there's a pretty good chance this thing is going to go through perhaps. So, maybe at our next meeting, we'll have a sense of where it is on the calendar and probably do more of a full force, full-throated opposition to this one.
Commissioner Strand, you're up next.
I do, and are you done, Commissioner Preston?
Yep.
I'm not so sure we shouldn't be putting a vote to some of these topics. I would be very open to it. I don't know what the wishes of the commission are, but this next topic that we brought forward and added to the agenda, and to clarify it, the Human Rights Commission didn't meet until Thursday at noon, which is subsequent to our deadline to get anything on an agenda. So it's not like they could get it to us proactively. However, they've made a statement about the homophobic and transphobic bills in front of the legislature. I think there's 20-some bills that are just, in many people's estimation, hard to take, and it is, you could talk about it a lot, but besides the human rights aspects of what's being addressed in Bismarck, we have a workforce development issue. We have thousands of jobs here and in the state. How are we going to get people to move here if the messaging we're putting out there is we don't want you to move here, or many of you? We don't want some of your family members. We don't want some of your friends. We don't want some of your circumstances here. I really applaud our Human Rights Commission for taking a stand on this. And my view, and I'll ask you all, I'm prepared to present a motion, but I would like to see our city commission also support their position to the legislature.
Mr. Chairman?
Further discussion, Mr. Preston?
I would agree.
Is there a downside for us advocating for human rights?
Sometimes the downside is the fact that we have things in front of the state that we need help on. Water project is one, those types of things, John. And these particular bills are targets for people in a variety of different ways, as you know. And Chamber has spoken very strongly about this one as far as workforce opportunities, workforce issues. And I think part of people are hoping is the governor will veto these bills as they come forward. So if you place an opinion out there, will that harm you in other elements? And we have a legislative body that has a lot of new people that are not always very predictable which way they'll vote. So it sometimes does other issues that the community might want, puts them at risk, but approval voting, they're shooting that down without even a thought, so.
So that said, I will advance a motion. I move that the Fargo City Commission endorse and join the Fargo Human Rights Commission statement regarding the homophobic and transphobic bills before the 2023 legislative session.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, and if I could make a comment. I just really, I understand where you're coming from, Mayor, but what we're talking about here are people's lives, their safety, and I think we need to make a statement. And there's no guarantee that a veto will not be overturned.
Commissioner Pepcorn.
So, just a couple of comments. To me, there's multiple bills here, and to me, I need to look at them much more carefully before I decide to vote for them. And I do have an issue with the human rights. They're an advisory board to us, and it seems to me like they're doing a lot of actions. They're unelected. They're an appointed committee by us, and they're being taking actions. I'm not sure that's really appropriate. To me, they're an advisory committee to us. They're not their own standalone body, and so to me, there might be some very good topics in this, but there's multiple bills here, and I have to apologize. I have not looked through all of them and to support each one, yay or nay. To me, a blanket support, I'm not comfortable doing that. So that's just my comment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Strand, could it be a modification of the motion in a sense? Because the 12 bills, different than what we've done is we typically take each bill and discuss it. We haven't discussed all 12 bills. There's some medical treatment interference, which I take very personal. That is some things that shouldn't be in any bill. Your relationship with your physician and what you need for your health care is important to yourself. And when you're starting to interfere with the care of patients, I think that's overstepping our bounds in many ways. But can you isolate out the 12 bills, or can you make a statement that we do not agree? Is there a statement you could make that takes in your motion, but not necessarily the statement HRC said?
We could accept and endorse or receive their recommendation and acknowledge that they are a standing commission representing the city, maybe perhaps. You know, I agree, it's hard to vote on a bunch of different little bills. But I would like to, if we can, stand with the Human Rights Commissions with their best guidance for people's issues.
Mr. Chair, can I?
Mr. Pipcorn.
The other thing is, as time goes by now, some of these, you'll know if they're going to be legitimate, viable bills. After crossover, they get it, because as we know, some of them are just dropped. And so to me, I think if there are some that are legitimate, that we should spend time on, all of us individually knowing what they are. I think that's when it's a more appropriate time for us to vote on them. That's just my opinion though. And to me, John, if you want to leave his motion the way it is, you sure can. But do you get what I'm saying? I think it's also, some of these bills are going to be more seriously, and then Mike can update us when they're going to be on the calendar. And so that's just my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Kolpak.
So there are parts of everyone's conversation tonight that I agree with, and certainly we stand for human rights. The issue here is, number one, what is the timing for that? One of the issues that I was, unfortunately, because they just met on Thursday, we also don't have the youth demographic represented here as part of this conversation, and I wish we would have heard from them tonight. I know that when we were in Bismarck last week, there were Republican and Democratic legislators who talked about how important this issue is to the youth community. And hearing from them, I think, is very important about retention and keeping them here as a workforce state. You know, from the summit's Main Street, this summer's Main Street Summit, to the recent governor's State of the State address, to the fact that right now in Cass County, we have 52 open positions, 4,000 of those in Fargo. This clearly is a workforce issue, and we are hearing from every community across the state. And, it is a mixed message, right? And so how do we reconcile that, but also not, continue to have the priorities that are appropriate at the city level, making sure that the most important issues right now are for the residents of Fargo. And I'm not saying this is an important issue at all. I'm just saying, as we look across all of these, I feel like I haven't had enough time to digest what was just, and I know I read it, but I wasn't there for the discussion. I was in Bismarck last week. And the last thing I'll say is my hope in the end is we truly work collaboratively on continuing to solve the real life family issues. And I'm not saying this isn't an important issue, But, but also practically, how are we solving these issues that matter to all of North Dakota, including childcare, affordable housing, behavioral health, infrastructure? And certainly this issue around human rights is very, very important. So I'm just trying to, sitting up here at the dais, digest all of this information, at a moment's, not a moment's notice, but you understand what I'm saying. It's just a lot to know how we balance the priorities here. So I'll stop.
Would it work if you tabled for 2 weeks and had the opportunity to have the youth come in and have us have a discussion about this, John? Could we go through the 12 bills, or would you like the HRC's message to go forward, but then have a discussion on commission support?
No matter what we do, we've already voiced, their position is voiced, and we've already spoken about it. I would say it's safe to say that Fargo is very concerned about these human rights bills, and that our leadership is concerned about these human rights bills. It's safe to say that they're workforce issues in our best estimation. What I could think of doing, and I'm okay waiting a couple of weeks, I think we've accomplished what we need to. They've already made their statement. I just, would like to put a little more bolstering into it from us as well. I'd like to think that our city commission would stand with these folks that are targeted and marginalized and at risk. I couldn't imagine we would pile on and make life worse. But that being said, having accomplished what we already had, why don't we wait and see what unfolds and hear from our youth and hear from others and be prepared to come back at it again in a couple weeks in our next meeting. Meanwhile, the message can also go out to the governor's office. We sure hope you put your veto to these bills that will do harm in the workforce lane, that will do harm to individuals and their families and their circles that are struggling. It's just not something we should leave alone.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add to this a little bit. I'm just doing a quick check. There's at least 2 or 3 of these that did not pass the first House. So, and there's a number of them that haven't crossed over yet. So maybe just delaying for a few weeks just to see where things are in a few weeks, and then focus on probably the priority.
And I wouldn't mind, John, if you drafted almost what you were saying is what our concerns are as a commission. And it's the people in our community, workforce, and it's the things we need to be standing up for people for. Maybe it doesn't make it globally all the bills, it just makes a statement where we sit.
So for the moment, I'll withdraw the motion if it's okay with the second. And we'll just leave
agreed.
It.
So we're clear on this motion, Commissioner Preston, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
John is very clear.
Thank you, John.
Commissioner Strand.
Okay, liaison commissioner assignment updates. Start with Commissioner Strand.
The only different update I have, my primary update I have is today I had my first engagement with the National League of Cities Federal Committee, their Human Development Committee, which is really going to be interesting. I'm one of nearly about 36 folks across the country that will be dealing with issues like senior citizens issues, childhood education issues, substance abuse issues, poverty and homelessness, and the things that are really a front burner for us here in Fargo. I was with folks across the country in a Zoom meeting today. We'll meet monthly, and then 3 times we'll meet in person. But I really much look forward to bringing our success stories to others across the country and to learning from them and bringing their best advice back home to us to apply.
I want people to think about this. John is one of 36 people across the nation that are on a national committee. City of Fargo gets to participate and hopefully bring back good ideas as well as share our ideas. But we have never had that before. So John, congratulations on being on this committee. And we look forward to share the information you learn and share it with the public. But we may learn new things about how to handle problems that the city has.
Thank you.
Mr. Kolpak.
I just have one update today. The Red River Dispatch Authority board meeting, a new board met, and also the finance committee of that authority met. And it's a great example of collaboration of Cass Clay and the 3 municipalities working together on a very important project. Thank you.
Just for people to understand that, we are building a new dispatch center, and that is going to be done within 2 years, is it?
Yes, that's the hope, and it serves the entire region.
So it's truly an envy of a lot of municipalities, so,
Well,
exciting
unless you
work.
watch the TV program 911 where they have the calls come in,
Right.
they're making call centers now even better as far as the comfort of the people that are serving. And by the way, we have some vacancies, so if somebody wants
We
to
do.
take 911 calls, please look it up and apply.
Yep, thank you.
I've been busy with legislative issues. I'd say that the response out in the legislative body is good. I think our local representation is doing very well, listening and trying to accommodate what the community wants. The chamber had a meeting out there on Thursday and Friday, including a breakfast with the governor, and we were well represented, and it's interesting to listen. I got to sit in on the money in which the state has, and it's really, there's too much money right now. There's so much money coming in that it's a question of what are you going to fund. So I think they're in that position of how much to hang on a legacy fund, which is $8.3 billion. And what do you use it for? What do you use your earnings for? How do you make it better throughout the state? So I think they have some tough decisions, but they also have Senator Hogan, Kathy said that 25% of their bills are nuisance bills, 75% of their workers are other bills. So it's almost sorting through that and figuring out what's important to the community. Commissioner Preston.
Yeah, so, I got a couple of slides, and you'll be hearing probably from me on a monthly basis about updates on the growth plan. If you could flip it, there we go, thank you. So this is kind of a rollout of the planning process around the development of the growth plan. The top is phase 1, and we've actually entered that now. It kicked off in February. In March, which is the second column there, CZB, the consultant group, will actually be in town to meet with a number of different groups, as well as probably make a presentation to us. The column 5, which will be March, April, May, around May or so, is when the commission will get probably fully engaged. The consultants will bring back to us what we are currently doing in regards to development and whether that is in line with where we want to go in the future. And they'll be able to paint the picture for us. So May, June, right in that area, right in that time frame, we'll be having some pretty heavy discussions probably. If you want to go to the next one. So these are just the tasks for this first phase, and they're going to start by analyzing all of the existing plans, which are a number of them, looking at the demographic and economic trends that will influence the growth, and then develop a current path scenario, and then assess that scenario, and then finally, and it's not really confirming a vision for growth in this first phase, it's more a clear definition of what we're currently doing and what that would look like if we go forward with that growth pattern. So, in the next couple of months, that's what we're going to be doing.
Moving forward. Commissioner Pipkin.
No update.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.